like to welcome everybody here and thank you in advance for your patience. This will be my second time running a meeting, so thank you. If you can silence your cell phones and electronic devices. Tonight's board meeting will be live streamed on our YouTube channel. The link is accessible on our website. Trustees, please make sure you turn your microphones on when you're ready to speak. If an audience member wishes to address the board, if you can, in the back, fill out a public comment form and present it to Deb up front. Public comment is taken for items not on the agenda. Each speaker is given 3 minutes. A total of 15 minutes is allocated for public to address the item not on the agenda. And if we can all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, can we report out from closed session?
Yes, the board discussed item B2, B3, B4, B5, and B7. And the board took action. It was moved by Fernandez, seconded by Keplinger to approve the compromise and release agreement for OAH case number 2024100932. The vote was 6-0, taken roll call vote, and that is all to report.
All right, thank you. We're on to our agenda. Could we get an approval for tonight's agenda?
I think we need to pull.
We have one
yeah.
change. Yep,
Oh,
just
thank you.
one change. On the consent agenda, we're going to pull the first item, the action item off, and vote separately on that. So that's the only change.
But I move to approve the agenda with that one change.
I'll second it.
H1, yes.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And abstentions? All right, next we have acceptance of our donations.
Do H1 right now?
Vote on H1?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
I move to approve H1. That's
second it.
the personnel actions.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And I will abstain.
Thank you.
And I'll also move for the consent agenda, to approve the consent agenda next.
Thank you.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And abstentions? And on to donations.
Yes, we are on to donations.
And it looks like we have 6 from Ukiah Co-op for $18,201 or $1,821. Do I have anyone like to move to accept the donations?
I will move with gratitude to accept those donations.
Second. Second.
All right. All those in favor? Aye. Thanks, B.
Lots of gratitude.
Opposed and abstentions? All right. Skylar with our student advisory report.
Yes, okay. So we're just finishing up finals week at the high school with the last day being tomorrow. Things have been kind of slower, but that's more just because of we're wrapping up the semester. Last week we had a winter spirit week, which I think was pretty successful. It was probably our most successful one since school has started since, or excluding homecoming, obviously, because that's such a big thing. Monday was Ugly Sweater Day. Tuesday we did it where you dress up as a Grinch or a Who from Whoville. Wednesday was you dress up as an elf, Santa, or reindeer, usually with hats. Thursday was snowed in, so you dress in like thicker winter clothes. And Friday was just comfy pajama day that pretty much everyone I saw participated in that one. Leadership, along with other classes, specifically third and sixth periods, had kids where we participated in the Christmas effort, so where we would adopt a family and go out and buy kids from that family Christmas gifts. We had a visual performing arts winter showcase on the 6th, where the drama, dance, choir, and band programs showcased their talent. The choir actually performed the song, I don't know if anyone knows it, Love's an Open Door from the Frozen movie, and that was really popular. We had a clubs day on the 5th, hosted by leadership, where a bunch of clubs sold food in the quad as a fundraiser. Winter sports begun, and our preseason, their league still has not started. There was a winter band concert on the 13th, where the bands could show off their talent, and choir concert on the 11th. This year, we did something different for Winter Spirit Week as well, where we had the guy who's usually our mascot dress up as Willie, but in like Santa costume as well. And we painted a big throne that he sat on, and a bunch of kids from leadership painted it and decorated it, and we had him go out in the cafeteria at break and lunch, and a bunch of kids could just like take pictures with him with kind of like this photo booth thing that Miss McCombs, our band teacher, has. It was really popular and fun, and I think a lot of people participated in it, so we'll probably be hopefully be doing that next year too. So yeah, and that's the update.
Any questions for Skylar from the board? Skylar, thank you so much. We know it's finals week. You're more than welcome to stay, but if you want to go study, you're more than welcome to. Thank you. Right. Item C8, employee organizations. It looks like we have UTA.
Hello, I'm Rachel H. I'm the UTA treasurer, and I'm a middle school teacher at Pomalita. And right now, we're all very excited for winter break. Can't wait for that. Students are finishing up their grading. We're grading our tests and updating our report cards so they're ready to be sent out. Our quarter is just about done, so it's very hectic. But everybody's doing really well. Our choir teacher is also the choir teacher at Ukiah High, so they just had a lovely choir concert called Tinsel, and it was a great showcase, as she said, for our students. And our band, our advanced band, our beginning band at our school just had a great great presentation of their skills at a winter concert, and it was lovely, and a lot of people were there. There was no space in our side of the gymnasium, so it was great to see so many parents and friends there. That's it for me.
All right, thank you so much. And it looks like we are moving on to item C9, Leadership Team Report by Principal Pomalita, Jonathan Dewey.
He brought some amazing friends with him too, so.
Not the band this time, though.
Yeah.
So we have been talking a lot about teams at Pomalita. So I brought a few members of our amazing teams. But first Rachel was a little humble. She's being recognized tomorrow as one of the middle school teachers of the year down in. So we will have a dinner for Rachel tomorrow night down in Hillsburg. So that will be a lot of fun. So I have with me two teachers from our 6th grade department, and they're going to talk to you guys about our PLC development at our school. We have lots of great teams, but they're going to kind of go over some things that they're doing and how it helps them in the classroom, and that is Miss Andrea Perez and Ellie Morton. And then I also brought along Miss Away, who's going to give a report out on what our leadership team is doing on campus. And then I have two students, Cassie Damian and Skylar Morton, here to talk about what Webb is doing and how they're improving school culture. So they're going to kind of run you guys through the thing. I'll come in after if you have any questions for them or me, and we'll go that way. Sound good? Okay. Oh, do we have the clicker? I'm trying. you can, okay.
Oh, oh no. Is it web first? Oh. Oh, wait, no. Here we go.
Sorry, guys.
All right. All right, I'm Ellie Morton, and
I'm Andrea Perez.
and we both are sixth grade teachers for Pomalita. And, oh, sorry. Oh, okay. Is it on? It is on. Okay. I'm Ellie Morton,
I'm Andrea Perez.
and we're both sixth grade teachers at Pomalita. And we're here to tell you a little bit about our PLCs and how we make it work so well.
Yeah, so we meet every week except for when we have a staff meeting. But we also work together all the time. We sit together at the break table during break and during lunch every single day. So we're constantly talking to each other and sharing resources and strategies and just talking about our students and everything that we're doing for them. So outside of our PLC, we're still just working together all the time. And we do common formative assessments, and those help us monitor student learning and figure out what we still need to teach them or what we need to reteach for them. And we compare everything from those formative assessments. And we're starting to do this new thing where we're gonna observe each other reteaching or doing whatever the next step is after we do our CFAs.
Yeah, and I think it's the way we create our common formative assessments, I think, is pretty special. I haven't been in a team that really works like we do, and we create it together. We come up question for question, what we want them to know, why we want them to know it, and everyone has a say. There's 8 of us?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's 8 of us. So we're a big team, and it's just been really helpful for all of us. Some of us are brand new. We have some very first-year teachers, and then we have teachers like me, been here 19, 20 years. So it's a lot. We have a lot of different ideas and different approaches that we go through, which is super beneficial for our students. We all share students. We switched for math, so we get to see most of the students, so that's super helpful too when it comes to our assessments and really knowing who the kids are and what their needs are in different subject areas. So yeah, like Andrea said, we actually like to hang out together. So it really also helps make our PLCs as successful as I think they are. Yeah, any questions? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Good evening. I'm Zoe Louet. I am a 7th grade language arts teacher at Pomalita, and I'm here as a representative from our leadership network, which is a coalition of staff and teachers all across campus whose impact shapes our school and our students. We are made up of more than just the core subject areas. We also have special ed, we have the electives, and we're always looking for other people to bring in to add their voices and their perspectives to our group. We have been working on this for years, and we are constantly always looking for ways that we can improve ourselves and better the school and school culture. We start by setting a goal each year. Last year, our goal was based on making and administering CFAs so that we could get student data and improve our teaching. This year, we decided to build on that by making sure that we were still giving CFAs, but also that we were focused on using the data that we get from those CFAs to come up with reteaching strategies for improvement and making sure that all students are learning at grade level. To make sure that we did that, our goal is to observe our cohorts in that reteaching process once we have come up with those strategies, which not only reinforces accountability, but also improves best practices because we are learning from each other, because we are gaining strategies from each other. And when we observe each other in class, we can also see, oh, you know, if you did it this way, then maybe, you know, we can give each other suggestions and feedback. what else do I need to say? Excuse me. We are also in that regard using the resources that Dr. Twaddell gave us in our trainings, specifically organizers for data chats, where once we have collected our common formative assessments, our CFAs, we break down the data, we examine what was successful, where we might have struggled, the cause of any of that struggle, and ways to move forward productively and successfully for the betterment of the students. A lot of our PLTs have already piloted using these graphic organizers, and the feedback was generally positive. We found them to be very helpful, great with keeping everybody moving forward and keeping everybody on task. And we also feel very comfortable making adjustments that to these things that suit the needs of our departments or our staff in order to better our practices for the students. Additionally, I'm also here to speak on behalf of the ELD task force, which we have created at school to make sure that all of our students, especially those who have trouble accessing the language, are successful. We are student-focused. We are providing our staff with training and accountability for best practices, and this is run in the PLC process. For this year, our SMART goal, which I narrowed down a bit, is to move 10 students per grade level to the next level by February, when they will take the LPAC and hopefully be reclassified. We would really love that. We're doing this through various strategies, but our current goal is to introduce ELD strategies to the whole staff, have each PLT department pick a strategy that they would particularly like to focus on and feel that they could introduce into their curriculum for the betterment of the students, and then use that. And in fact, we will be presenting the results of those strategies and our use of them at the staff meeting when we come back in January. And that's all I have to say. Does anybody have any questions? Wonderful. Okay. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Cassie Damien. I'm a web leader at Pomalita. At our school, I'm in DLIP, which is our dual language immersion program, as well as our ASB secretary and on the volleyball and basketball team. I wanted to be in web to be more involved with school, as well as be someone the sixth graders could look up to.
Hi, I'm Skylar Morin, and inside of school, I'm also in DLIP. I play volleyball and softball at Pomalita, and there are many reasons I wanted to be in web, but one of them was to make the transition from elementary school to middle school like fun and easy for the sixth graders.
At Web, one of the main events we put on is sixth grade orientation, which is a day before school starts for about 4 hours, where the incoming sixth graders can come to be more comfortable with school, but as well as have fun. But before we get to put on that event, all the web leaders go to a training, which is about 2 days for 5 hours each day before the event.
Some things we get to create are the dances, rallies, game nights, lawn games, walkathons, and daily announcements. And those are all the different committees, and we get to have a chance to be in all of those. We have got to put on all of those events, and they've gone really well, and they're really fun to put on.
This year, we've had the luxury of making some new additions to Web to give back to our community. In the month of October, we were collecting socks to give to 2 different homeless shelters. This winter, we put on a canned food drive, as well as made cards. These cards go to an organization called Cards for Kids, who distribute them to different patients and hospitals around.
Yeah. Thank you.
I gave them the slide, and I went back to it about an hour later, and it was like done, and I was amazed. And then I called them back into my office the next day, and I was like, okay, let's practice. And they pull out their note cards, and they had practiced, and it was good, and they got to go back to class and have fun. So those are things that are just a few of the things that are happening at Pomalita. We have a fantastic team. We have great groups of people. These are just a few of the fantastic people we have at Pomalita, and I just wanted to highlight the people doing the work and who are buried in it every day and celebrate their successes. So that's why we brought everybody here today, and I appreciate you guys for doing this. I know it's not easy, and so thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, Jonathan, I wanted to say thank you. We hear a lot about PLCs and PLTs, and for you to bring your team with you to hear and see how it's implemented every day. And we got to hear from Dr. Twiddell too, and one of the things he said is a really well-functioning PLC is when they hang out and they do stuff outside of that scheduled time. And I think we just heard that, and probably speaks to how successful you all are. And thank you for bringing the web leaders. You guys did a great job. We love the work that you're doing. Tyler?
I was going to say something similar to what Freddie said, but a little less eloquently. So I know it takes a lot of time to come to the board meeting. So for the students and teachers, thank you so much for sharing with us. And just to ditto what he said, it's so awesome to hear about the success of the PLCs. We've been talking about it for years, and to hear some of the successes, it's just like, okay, this is awesome. So anyways, keep up the good work, and thanks for joining us tonight. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
All right, moving to C10. I would like to open it up to public comment for items not on the agenda. All right, thank you. Moving on to D1. Katie, I think that's you.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Cuban. Tonight I'm here to share the California School Dashboard, and it should be pulled up here in a minute. So the state of California has an accountability system. Part of that system is that we have data that's displayed on the California School Dashboard. We use this data to inform us both for our strategic plan and our LCAP, and also this is also broken down into school sites, and school sites use the data and information from here to write their school plans for student achievement and make improvements at their school. So tonight I'm just going to do a quick overview. You've been able to look at the dashboard. I just want to highlight a couple of things in the dashboard. You can see it has a dial for each of the components of the dashboard: red, orange, yellow, green, and blue, red being low and blue being the highest. The colors are calculated based on what we call status, and then also on improvement. So where were we, and this data is based on last year and the year before that. Where were we, how did we do with chronic absenteeism, and how did we change from the prior year? And that calculation gets put onto this grid, and then we get a color. So that's what the color coding. You can see that our chronic absenteeism is yellow. It went down significantly, which was good, about 10%. And so our chronic absenteeism now is only at about 21% last year, which is a lot better than where we were during the pandemic, so we're really happy to see that. Our suspension rate, we're at orange. It was flat. It stayed the same. We're at 5.3%. Still very significantly down from where we were before, but we're still kind of stuck in the orange zone right now. Our English learner progress, so that indicator is based on how our English learners are progressing on the LPAC, and the rate of reclassification is kind of a combination of that. We were in the yellow. The prior year we were green, but we had many schools that made really good headway with our English learner progress. We had 4 schools that were in green, and one of those was Pomalita. Out of the 4 that were in green, 2 had started EL task force, at their sites, both Pomalita and Ukiah High. Nokomis really worked through their comprehensive support and improvement plan and really worked on reading in grades 4 and 5. So we know we had a lot of support there. And also Calpella. So I just wanted to highlight some of the really good work that our sites had done last year and are continuing this year. Our graduation is at Green. We were at 91.5%. That was the same as last year. And a couple of our schools improved, one of them being Ukiah Independent Study Academy was in the blue. They worked really hard to make sure they monitored their students and made sure they were all good with graduation. College and career indicator. Last year, we didn't get a color because it took a couple years for them to have enough data. We are in the orange. We were medium in terms of our status. We have some work to do there to ensure that students are college and career ready. And we have some great things happening at our sites, like at South Valley High School. They've implemented the CCS 100. I may be saying the number wrong, college course around academic, how to be an academic student. So we're working on improving that. English language arts and mathematics. In English language arts, we were in the orange. Last year we were yellow. We were a little flat. Basically, we were flat in both ELA and math, and that's what put us in the orange for both of those. We do have some really good highlights. We have a couple schools that made a lot of headway. The high school improved in ELA. Calpella went from orange into yellow, and they really worked on improving their reading. And Frank Zeke was in the green in both ELA and math. They've worked really hard on their PLCs. They have high levels of collaboration, and we really see a lot of improvement there. And then in mathematics, Ukiah Elementary, I think I've talked to you about this before, their math scores really improved. They're still continuing lesson study, and we're in the kind of slow second year of lesson study with our middle school team that's working on that. So we're really working to improve mathematics. And then you can see we are, the other ones we've standard met, and those are local indicators that we work on. Can you scroll down a little bit, Juan? The science, right there, if you can stop. Science, they're not doing a performance indicator, but it was on the dashboard this year. We'll give you more information as that comes along. It will probably be on the dashboard next year, just to kind of give you a heads up on that. And then lastly, just in the rationale, we are in differentiated assistance again for long-term English learners and foster youth, although I'm looking into the foster youth data because it does not seem correct to me because our foster youth improved 10% in ELA, so I'm not sure. So we're still looking into that to make sure there wasn't a data error on that, and we're working with our County Office of Ed for differentiated assistance. And then another piece just on the dashboard, this is also used to select schools for, there's cute little baby noises behind me. I'm sorry, I can't. I was like, what? So this is also used for federal accountability at the school level. And last year we had 5 schools in what's called the ATSI. That's just additional support for schools. And this year we only have 3. We had 2 schools exit ATSI, so we were really happy to see that. Both Calpella and Eagle Peak both exited. So we've presented our SBAC data and all our other data before. This is a little bit. We've already kind of gone through the data. That's why I'm not spending a ton of time on it, but we want to make sure the public gets to see the dashboard and that we do use this in both our planning for our LCAPs and our school plans for student achievement. Yeah.
Questions or comments from the board? Chloe?
I was just going to say that I really like seeing this data presented like this. I'm glad the state does it because there's something nice about being able to see it like a little speedometer.
Yeah.
It's easy to visually sort of see how we're doing.
Yes.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I agree. Instead of the large charts and yeah. Okay, thank you.
All right, moving on to D2, overview of the charter school renewal process by Ureli.
And you're really welcome. We're happy to have you in your
Thank
role as
you.
Director of Alternative Education, and welcome to your first board presentation.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, Superintendent Cuban and Board of Trustees. I'm going to be giving you an overview, a very brief overview of the charter school performance categories and the renewal process because it's changed since the last time our district has had a renewal. Am I going to click? Or, okay. So the charter school renewal process has undergone significant changes in order to increase the focus on student learning and equity and to expand the review of performance data to a specific set of state and local measures. So this presentation provides a brief overview of the charter school renewal standards, the performance categories, and renewal tracks. And there's specific California Education Code related, and also Assembly Bill 1505. And I'll have a little chorus as we go. So Assembly Bill 1505 went into effect on July 1st, 2020, and modified the criteria used with the charter school renewal. Based on the criteria from this Assembly Bill, charter schools receive a performance category based on their California School Dashboard performance over the past 2 years, the same dashboard that Katie just spoke about. So the first set of designations were released in 2020 and were based on the 2019 and 2018 dashboards. And then due to the pandemic, there were no designations released in 21, 22, or 23. And then the second list of designations was released this past March of 2024. There's education code related to the renewal standards, in addition to AB 1505. Ed Code 47607 is for charter schools considered in the high renewal track. Ed Code 47607.2 is for charter schools in the low and middle renewal tracks. And then Ed Code 47605 is more general. It covers the establishment of charter schools and the requirements for charter petitions. AB 1505 performance categories. So the dashboard, the California School Dashboard is used to identify charter schools' performance categories. And there's 3 categories, high, middle, and low. Charter schools that fall into the high category are eligible for a 5 to 7 year renewal. The middle is may be renewed for a 5-year term, and then there's a low category which may be renewed for a 2-year term if they meet the conditions. So there's 3 different tracks for renewals. Renewal tracks are determined by the charter school's performance category, and they're based on 2 criterion: the overall school performance and the performance of specific student groups. And the California School Dashboard, again, is what determines placement into the high, middle, or lower renewal track. So the high renewal track provides information. The Ed Code 47607 provides information for this track. Again, it's eligible for a 5 to 7 year renewal. The petitioner is only required to update the petition for new legal requirements, and the authorizer, the school district, shall not deny renewal except if corrective action has been unsuccessful. And that's defined in Ed Code 47607E. The middle renewal track is defined in Ed Code 47607.2B. And authorizers must consider the following: the dashboard data, school-wide and for student groups, and the focus should be on English language arts, math, the English Learner Progress Indicator, and the Career and College Indicator, similar to what you've just seen. Clear and consistent evidence demonstrated by verified data, measurable increases in academic achievement and strong post-secondary outcomes, and schools in the middle renewal track are eligible for a 5-year renewal term. And finally, Ed Code 47607.2a provides information for the lower track. In order to renew a charter school in this category, the authorizer can only renew if there's meaningful steps that are being taken to address the underlying cause or causes of low performance, and there's clear and consistent evidence demonstrated by verified data, and the state defines what you can use as verified data. Of either measurable increases in academic achievement, specifically 1-year progress for each school, each year in school, or strong post-secondary outcomes. Those could include college enrollment, persistence, and completion rates. And schools in this track may be eligible for a 2-year renewal term. So those are the most latest updates in regards to renewals. Are there any questions?
Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
All right.
I have one quick question, if it's okay. When do you receive the data, the dashboard information on the charter schools?
It's out, and so as part of the petition, there'll be as part of the petition for the next agenda item.
Oh, okay, so we review that?
We do.
Okay, okay.
The next item will walk the board through that process.
Thank you,
Yes,
Raleigh.
this was more of a general overview.
Because things have changed dramatically since, things have changed dramatically for charter approvals. So anyway, we wanted to make sure the board had that informational, and then we'll get to the next item, whenever you're ready.
All right, moving on to D3. Public hearing, I'd like to open the public hearing for Sequoia Charter Academy, request for charter renewal consideration.
And before you really get started, I just want to thank all of the our charter partners, our charter school partners, and the families who are here, the students who are here. We're really lucky to have some great charter schools to work with, so just wanted to say thank you.
Yes, thank you. So just to give you a little bit of background as to where we are with Sequoia Career Academy, they were granted a 3rd renewal of the charter in 2017 by UUSD Governing Board, and then the original renewal expiration date was June 30th of 2022. However, the state of California extended the renewal of all the charter schools twice during the pandemic. Sequoia Career Academy is submitting a request for a 2-year renewal prior to the date of the charter expiration, this coming June 30th of 2025. So their petition is currently being reviewed by UUSD staff using the charter school matrix, and the district's findings and recommendations will be posted 15 days before the next board meeting, along with the completed matrix will be shared at the January board meeting. So to start us off, I'd like to introduce Sayla Sawyer. She's the co-executive director of Sequoia Career Academy. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Sayla Sawyer, and I am the co-executive director of Charter Academy of the Redwoods. I was a founding teacher in 2002 at Sequoia. It was my first year teaching, so that was great. I then became the principal for 16 years at Sequoia. I'm now the co-executive director. Along with many other hats, I'm the board president, I'm the data manager, I'm the special education director, and most importantly, I teach high school. So I love the teaching. That's the most important part to me. Sequoia has always been a school aimed at helping students who need a little extra support to meet their career goals. While our test scores have not always been the highest, they've always been on par with our local schools. However, what isn't seen in the state reported data is the individual growth students make at our school, both academically, personally, and socially. We have always examined individual growth data, and our students have always made incredible growth over the previous year's test scores. Prior to the pandemic, it's been a long day for me. I was at UCSF this morning with my son getting his tonsils out, so I'm a little bit tired. Give me a moment. Prior to the pandemic, they had even started performing above state average in English. So our school was actually a middle tier school qualifying for renewal. However, the pandemic had a huge impact on our school. Since the pandemic, the number of students entering our school with a score of a 1 on their ELA has increased from 21% to 50%. And the number of students entering our school with a 1 on math went from 31% to 71%. Chronic absenteeism doubled at our school to 50% post-pandemic. Students with social and emotional needs increased tremendously also post-pandemic. So our school was deeply impacted in ways, I know all schools were deeply impacted by the pandemic, but our school saw even greater increases, I think, than the average school. Despite all of that, our local growth data shows that the vast majority of our students are making at least a year's growth. Our state test scores have improved. Our chronic absenteeism rates are dropping, and our dashboard is improving. What no test data can show is the impact we have on our students and our families. Because we are small, we can give very individualized and personalized attention to both our families and our students. Over 93% of our parents surveyed say that their students are happy here and they are happy with us, and that we are available to them if they need help. And over 97% of our parents would recommend us to another family. We meet a local need that state test data does not reflect. So I respectfully ask that you renew our charter and give us some additional time to show improvement. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Questions, comments from trustees?
I really appreciate your presentation, and I really appreciate everyone coming. It really is a testament to your community that you've built, that you have so many families who come, and I agree that your school provides something that's needed in our community. So I really appreciate that you guys are continuing on. And I don't think we're approving anything tonight because of the public hearing, but.
No, too bad. We'll see you next time.
Yeah. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for highlighting all the things that the dashboard can't articulate. So
It doesn't say it all, and I wish that it did. There's so much it doesn't say. Any other questions for me? No?
thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
We're going to move to the public comment portion. And is there any more depth? Just, okay. And Stephanie, come on up. Hi. Come on up.
So I just start talking? My name is Stephanie. My daughter, Kaylina, she came to this school after trying a different charter school. I ended up homeschooling her last year. It didn't go well at all. She had switched from Ukiah Junior Academy to a charter school because she needed help with reading. And Ukiah Junior Academy doesn't offer that one-on-one that the school district has and the resources. And Sequoia has been absolutely wonderful with the trauma informed, with the work with RCS, communicating with them, with the individual education help, with the teachers, with the office staff, with communicating, the warmth, the empathy, and the compassion, and everything that goes into it. You could know it, you could talk about it, but actually doing it and being genuine with it, that's something that that school has. And everything I've heard and like working with my daughter there and talking to the staff and the way that they work with the kids and they help get them caught up academically, it's just really, really good. I would recommend the school. I'm not sure what else to say other than what the other lady said, and the staff is just wonderful. That's all.
Come on up.
Say, I'm Child.
I'm Child,
And what do you think?
and I really love my school because my other school didn't work out because I was getting bullied and stuff. And I like this school because I don't get bullied. And I could always tell my teacher when something's going on.
Do you have anything else to say?
Mm-mm.
Say thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'd like to open it up to the board for any comments.
So this will come back to you at the next meeting for approval? Yep, and then he's going to close the public comment, yep.
All right, thank you. I'd love to close the public comment portion. Public hearing, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.
You are certainly welcome to stay, but we'd like to mosey on.
Thank you. Thank you.
"45 minutes, here we go."
All right, I think we are going to move to item E1. Steve with our first interim report.
Great, good evening, and thank you. Usually when I come up here, I have a pretty clear idea of what I want to share, or a thought, or a theme that I really want to impart to you. And tonight I really don't. I think things are just okay. Things are pretty good, and there's nothing really scary on the horizon, nothing really wonderful on the horizon. We think things are just okay. And you know what? In my world, that's not a bad thing. So we'll probably go pretty quickly because I don't have a lot of new and different to share. But if you do have questions, please jump in. As always, first of all, a huge thanks to Christy Bryant and the entire fiscal team. Again, hours and hours and days and weeks of work gets boiled down into a few slides, and I don't do any of that work, so thank you to them. Quick jump to the budget cycle. We try to kind of tell you where we are. 23-24 is now completely done. We shared that with you in September, so now we know how we finished last year, and that does change how we look at our budget a little bit. And as we shared in September, we finished a little better than we thought we would, which we typically do, but it's good to make sure that we do, and we did. Next slide, again, you've seen this slide before as well. There really are kind of three layers to our budget. They're the 150, 160-page first interim report in your packets that no one wants to read. There are a few sections that try to highlight and kind of lay out in words what it all means, and then there's a presentation tonight that tries to highlight anything really new or different or important. So again, we'll go pretty quickly, but feel free to stop me. Enrollment was one of the big positive surprises for us this year. We thought we would be up over last year. We had projected to be up, I think by like 24, 38, somewhere in that range. We ended up being up 58 higher than we projected and 82 higher than we were at 2023-24's official measurement day, which is called Seabeds Day. That's the first Wednesday in October. Really unexpected, and we have not had a chance. Our data folks are so busy from the time school starts until about now. Now they can finally start to breathe a little bit, so we're going to try to dive in to figure out where all these kids came from. Because did kids move into the community? Did kids stop homeschooling? Our charter enrollment and our private school enrollment seems to be about the same. So where do these kids come from? We're not really sure. And more importantly, as we head into thinking about next year's budget, are we going to see a similar influx again next year? Who knows, right? Next year is very, very much a question for a lot of reasons, and we'll talk more about that here in a minute. So based on this information, we revised our enrollment projections for this year and for the next 2 years. Again, it's always hard. We have not been great at projecting enrollment since the pandemic. Any trends or patterns in enrollment are gone, and so we do our best to try to figure it out. The other variable in this is transitional kindergarten. You know, the state's been adding a couple months of 4-year-olds every year. For 25-26, all 4-year-olds will be eligible to come to us. And so we think we'll have more TK students next year than we have this year. We definitely saw a bump this year. We had 10 more than we thought we would have this year, but we had a lot fewer kindergarten students, and we haven't quite figured that out yet. But otherwise, most of the grades were actually up, which was kind of interesting. So. Moving on to the next slide, and this slide would be very different if I could do it over again. At about 4 o'clock today, we got the month 4 numbers, and our average daily attendance is not trending the right direction. Deb, I don't know if you've had a chance to see the numbers yet, but they were not stellar. So we are kind of reviving our positive attendance messaging after the first of the year, and I think that's a good thing. Definitely seeing a downward trend in ADA. And I think we've been relatively healthy, as far as I know, anecdotally. So not sure why the kids aren't coming as much, but we need to get them back to school every day. And as we've talked, this is one of the biggest drivers of our budget, right? It's enrollment, so our enrollment is up, and that's good. ADA is down a little bit, so we had to lower those projections. Then on the next page, you kind of see a summary of what that all means, what that meant. We were able to bump up our enrollment, as I said. We lowered our ADA some. I would probably lower it a little bit more, knowing now what I didn't know a week ago. But I think hopefully it'll still come back up and keep us pretty solid. Then moving on to the next page, just looking at briefly at the state level. This was a big source of concern for us this time last year, as you might recall. We were hearing we were going to go from thinking we were getting a big COLA for this year to hearing we were going to get no COLA for this year. And it ended up being that we got 1.07% COLA for this year, but it was kind of a roller coaster last year. We think those projections are a little more solid. The state has gotten over that income tax lag that really bit the state budget so much. So right now we're projecting 2.93% and 3.08% for 25-26 and 26-27 respectively. The Legislative Analyst Office is saying that 2.93 is probably a little high, not a lot high, but a little high, and that 3.08 is probably a little low the following year. So we'll get new numbers from the governor in January, so when we come back to you with second interim in March, we'll have some different numbers for you. But it shouldn't be the roller coaster we were on last year. Because that really matters for us, especially if our enrollment and ADA are picking up a little bit and the COLA grows. That definitely means more revenue for us. The other piece is the state had to delay some revenue to districts, and we think because the state has been doing pretty well compared to their forecast so far, we might see a bump to this. There's that second line called the augmentation or the COLA suspension, and we might see an augmentation next year. That's how we got those huge COLAs in 21, 22, and 22, 23. Was we had good COLAs, plus we got those huge augmentations that really doubled or tripled the COLAs that were actually funded for us. So again, I think it's pretty good news at the state level. So next page shows you what that all means. Basically, we've increased our revenue projections for all 3 years. Most importantly for right now is this year. You see it's up about $670,000 from what we thought just back in June. It's about $350,000 new in SCG funding for Katie, so she's been madly trying to figure out how to spend that money. I was hoping you would have. So, yeah, so again, it's nice to be able to come to this point of the year and have a little more money than we thought we would have. Now, again, we'll look at it again at second interim before we get too crazy on spending all of it. But again, I think it's trending in the right direction for us. You know, overall enrollment is up 1.4%. Our ADA percentage is down about 0.25%. It's probably down lower now. Our ADA, we revised our ADA estimates to be down 0.75%. So all told, our revenues are up 0.8%. Well, 0.8% on $80 million is a good chunk of change. So remember 4, 5, 6 years ago, this was a $50 or $60 million revenue stream for us. It's crazy how much it's grown. So hopefully that keeps going. This next slide always makes me a little uncomfortable. I don't like, and we don't like monetizing kids being at school. That's a very small piece of the overall reason we want kids at school, but it is the funding model we have from the state, and it's a fair question. What does a child being at school each day mean for the district? So this chart tries to show you over the last couple of years and the next couple of years going forward, you know, how much do we get per day? Well, for a TK student, we get $128.98 per day. All told, that could be $17,000 if they show up every day for the course of the year. TK grades K through 3, it's $14,700 for a full ADA, or $106.68 a day. You get a little bit less for grades 4 through 6, a little bit more for grades 7 through 8, and then finally at the high school you get quite a bit more to run all the CTE programs and other things that are part of a high school program. But yeah, $120 per day per ADA for the high school at this point. So yeah, we want kids at school. We want kids at school so they can learn academically, so they can learn socially, emotionally, so they can see their friends, they can have PE, they can get our meals, and so we can get the revenue. So. Next slide. We've talked a lot about the pressure on the general fund. We have done some deficit spending, not a lot if you look back over the last several years, but there is still this pressure, rising salaries through the formula every year, rising retirement costs, rising costs everywhere else, utilities, materials, supplies, everything else, just as you guys all know at home, costs more than it did a couple years ago, and I'm not sure that's going to change anytime soon. So that continues to put pressure on the general fund. Yes, we're getting more revenue, but it's not really keeping pace with all of our new expenses, and so that's a challenge. All told, the unrestricted general fund does a really good job of, the revenues far exceed the expenditures on the unrestricted general fund by itself. But then we have to start paying for things like routine restricted maintenance, which has to be 3% of our budget. And we have to pay for special ed, which is still extremely poorly funded, and that puts a huge strain on our budget. The next slide, I'm still trying to figure out a way to show this that it sort of makes sense, and I haven't found it yet, so I apologize. I'll keep trying. I don't think this one is any closer, but we'll see. So the blue line going across shows you what was our net revenue before we had to make these contributions to special ed and to routine restricted maintenance. And then after we add those contributions in is the red line. Now, in a perfect world, we're not here to make a profit and return money to our shareholders. We're here to, in a perfect world, we spend every penny we get on our staff and on our kids every year. So those years when those numbers are really close are kind of circled in green, which is hard to see on the screen, but those are what we really want. The next okay thing would be to have a little more money fall to the bottom than we spend. Those are the ones circled in yellow. And you can see we've done pretty well. They've all been green or yellow until we get to this year and the next 2 years. And again, as we go through the year, those numbers tighten and things get better. But as of right now, you look and see we're going to be spending a lot more than we're bringing in. And you know from your personal budgets, you can deficit spend in the short term. You can go ahead and build that debt because you plan for it and you save for it. But at some point, if you're spending more every month than you're bringing in, sooner or later it's going to be a problem. So that's really the challenge we have with our budget. But again, we also tend to be conservative with our estimates to kind of keep us from getting in trouble too. So anyway, I'll keep thinking about a better way to show this. I know this isn't quite it. But
I liked this though, Steve.
Do you?
I thought this
Okay.
was a nice, I mean, it was nice to see it this way with the little circles. It was,
Okay.
I can
Alright.
see you're on the right
Okay, we're getting warmer. Okay.
Yeah, it's good.
All right, well, good. Okay, moving on, multi-year projection. So right now, we're showing that we're going to finish this year with 9.3% in reserves. That's not quite the 10% the board asks for, but it's better than the 7.77% we showed you back in June. We definitely picked up about 1.5%. With those higher revenues, with understanding our expenses a little bit better. 25-26, we're just over 7%. Well, we were just about 5.75% back in June. So again, next year's looking a little better. The year after, 4.68%. That was 4.1 back in June. Now, the one thing I will say is if we do see a 2 to 3% COLA next year and any kind of augmentation, the formula will probably realize a salary increase, which means our expenses will also go up. So this is going to get distorted possibly over time. Again, this is just based on what we knew about 2 weeks ago. So it's always a point in time, and it's always wrong the next minute. But again, right now we're trending in the right direction. Next slide, we do have some money put away for some other things. We still have a lot of lottery money sitting there. I keep waiting for Katie to come down and say, okay, I want to start spending lottery money, but she hasn't yet. We also have some other money put aside for deferred maintenance that we have not had to touch for years. And if the state comes through with some facilities money since Prop 2 passed, maybe we won't have to touch it for a little while longer, but I'm not sure when we're actually going to see the money that we're entitled to. So we'll start talking to you more about facilities in the spring, what we want to do next. And we'll also be talking about a facilities master plan again in the spring. So, but again, so we have another $5-6 million on the books in reserves that are designated for very specific things. The board could repurpose some of those funds if things did get negative for some reason. The lottery money we can't repurpose, but the other funds we could. So hopefully we don't have to, because the board has worked really hard to set those monies aside for those specific things. But there is some flexibility should we need it. The next slide is still a pretty new concept for us. Back in the spring, we came to you and said,
Steve,
okay. Oh,
I forgot I had a question on that last slide.
Okay.
Sorry for interrupting you. What is the difference between facilities and deferred maintenance? Like, what are the projects?
Really not. We've just kind of put them in different pots, I think. There used to be, the state used to have deferred maintenance money that was very specific. It was in a separate fund and everything else, and that went away. We've tried to keep money for that just in case, and that's really those bigger projects, HVAC and things like that. But then as there was other money available, we put it into what we called facilities. It could be the same thing. It's
Okay.
At the end of the day, we'll probably spend them both the same way.
Okay.
Unless you know something I don't know, Gabe. Is that about right? Okay, perfect. All right, so committed funds. This was a relatively new concept for us. We came to you back in the spring and said, hey, we want to take that old SCG money that we didn't spend, and we want to make it unrestricted, but we wanted to commit it, put it aside for textbooks. We knew the money we had in lottery wouldn't be enough when we start rolling out several different adoptions at once. Those costs are going to add up very quickly. And so the board took a resolution to commit those funds. And then we came to you last month with a return of equity we got from our workers' comp consortium, and we did the same thing. We put that aside. We committed those funds for a legal or insurance reserve. So those funds are sitting there outside of those reserve percentages we've talked about. These are extra funds on top of that can only be spent or repurposed by board resolution. So I can't go off and decide to go do something different with these funds tomorrow. Well, I could, but then I wouldn't be here the next day. So, yeah, so that's the nice thing, again, is we have money set aside for very specific things, but the board can also repurpose those through board action. And then lastly, just kind of a quick recap. Again, based on what we know today or a week ago, we're in pretty good shape. We're meeting with sites and departments. They're already scheduled, these meetings, for second interim and for staffing for next year as soon as we get back from the break. No rest for the weary. Sorry, and thank you to all of our administrators, because it's time to start diving in again. The governor will present his initial state budget for 25-26 by January 10th. I go to Sacramento for the workshop on what it all means January 21st, which will be after our board meeting, but we'll probably talk to you in February about what we've learned. And then we'll come back to you with second interim in March. In the meantime, we are recommending a positive certification for first interim. You might recall we did a qualified certification back at second interim last year for the first time in about 10 years. But that's when we were so uncertain about the state's budget. Those questions got resolved and resolved favorably, so we're in better shape, and we feel better about our multi-year projections now than we did, gosh, 6 months ago, 8 months ago. It's crazy how things change. I think there are still some things out there that could impact our world that we just aren't smart enough to understand how they're going to impact our world. What happens after January 20th with the Department of Education, funding from Washington for schools, what happens with our enrollment and our ADA. I could make arguments that it's going to increase or decrease or not change at all. And so we're just assuming it's not going to change at all for now. But it's going to be interesting regardless. So with that, any more questions?
Questions or comments from the board?
I can't see B. All I see is flower. There she is.
I do want to say that I really like this. It feels good right now.
You like good news? Yeah.
Right now, it feels good right
Good.
now. Yes, that's it. And
Me too.
I like that it's a positive one. I remember when we had a qualified one.
Yeah, that
So
wasn't much fun.
Those are never fun, yeah.
No.
But so that.
Yeah,
really
I'm sleeping a
looks
little
good.
better now than I was back in March, yes.
Yeah, nice job.
Was that your first qualified since you've been here?
Yeah, it's the first one for the district since like 12 or 13. I think 12, 13 or 13, 14.
Now
Yeah.
it's behind us.
It was kind of regular in Healdsburg for a while, but now that they're basic aid, it's a distant memory for them, but yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the 24-25 first interim report with a positive certification.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And abstentions?
Great,
Thank
thank
you
you.
very much.
Thanks, Steve.
And moving on to F1.
Yes, just a few things. I've been out and about a lot lately. It's been really nice. I'm doing some focus groups. Usually we do a survey of our site administrators on how things are going in the district. This year I decided to do it verbally. So I've been meeting with site administrators and site secretaries just to get some feedback on how things are going. I'm going to summarize it all and see what we can do to continue doing the great things and what we need to do things better. So that's been really fun. We did a board visit to our CTP South program and to Nokomis. It was so great seeing the kids engaged in music at Nokomis. Super fun. Hearing them sing and drum. We have a lot of super great holiday events going on almost every night in the district right now. It's very fun to see the kids perform and the families so excited to watch their kids perform. So I wish everyone a great holiday break. I know people are extremely tired and need to get some rest and some family time to refill. So I wish everybody a great break. And I think that is all I will say.
Trustee Nelson.
Is it okay if I speak about the next item?
Yes.
Board members' reports. A few of us recently went to AEC. I can't remember what it stands for, but basically we went and learned stuff. And I just wanted to recognize the district invests a lot in training its teachers, but I really appreciate when we invest in the board members. I think it makes us do our job better because we actually know something. So there have been a few things that the district has really socked some money away on us, and I think it really makes a difference. So it was an awesome conference, and happy holidays.
All right. Thank you. Moving on to G1. This is a motion for
Somebody will say I move. Yep.
Can can I have a motion to expel student 01-12-19-2024?
I so move.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And abstentions? And our first readmission, do we have a motion to approve readmission of student BB-12-19-2024?
I so move.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And abstentions? And second readmission, do I have a motion to approve readmission of student AA-12-19-2024?
I so move.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And abstentions? I think the last piece we have is the planning. I have last month, so this would be the 8th of January. Looks like Zoe hasn't been for a while. I'm just kidding. In December, it was myself and Rebecca, and in November, it was B and Carolyn. Anybody available?
Chloe's not.
January 8th at noon. Rebecca?
I can do that. February 8th.
January 8th.
February 8th was a Saturday, I think. So January 8th, I can do that.
All righty. So Becca, Tyler, and myself on the 8th. And adjourn? Thank you.